Today we want to move to the scenario analysis, and if time allows, we will learn how to draw decision trees in the process of handling risk in capital budgeting. So you are most welcome. Today, let's focus our attention on scenario analysis. Scenario analysis. Scenario analysis is yet another strategic planning technique where multiple potential future scenarios are created and then they are analyzed to assess their impact on a decision or on a plan. So scenario analysis is a strategic planning technique that we use in capital budgeting to assess the impact of different scenarios on a decision. That is to say that it is a technique where because we are discussing scenario. So it is a technique where multiple potential scenarios is a technique where multiple means many potential future scenarios these future scenarios are analyzed, but first of all are created, then analyzed, are first created and then analyzed. Potential future scenarios are created and analyzed, and the analysis is done in order to assess their impact, on a decision or on a plan. And candidates, don't forget, we are studying capital budgeting. These are techniques that are applied before a company actually invests in any project. That's why we are calling it capital budgeting. These are just at the planning level. Before making any decisions, we are studying the techniques that are available at your disposal when you will be advising companies on the decisions that are to be made. One such technique is scenario analysis. So this is where different scenarios or situations are created. Then they are analyzed to assess their impact on a decision. And it goes beyond simple forecasting. Scenario analysis goes beyond simple forecasting by considering a range of possible outcomes. And that helps decision makers prepare for various contingencies, prepare for various uncertainties. Okay? So the key elements or elements. What are the elements in scenario analysis? The first element is to identify what we call key drivers. Identifying key drivers. Number one, identifying key drivers. What do I mean? Now, the process starts by identifying the critical variables or drivers or factors. Drivers are variables or just factors that are most likely to influence a future outcome. You understand? These are variables or factors that are most likely to do what? To influence future outcomes. Most likely to influence future outcomes. Step number one, when making a decision on a project or anything, identify the key drivers, the factors, the variables. Just like in sensitivity analysis, we saw that we have the input variables and the output variables. Here again, we are discussing the key drivers, which are the factors and the variables that are most likely to influence or to impact future outcomes. Then the second thing is to develop scenarios. You then develop scenarios after identifying the key factors. Then identify or develop scenarios. These are multiple plausible scenarios. Develop multiple plausible scenarios. Multiple, many. Okay? Multiple. Develop many plausible scenarios. Okay? Multiple. Develop multiple plausible scenarios. You understand? And each scenario has to represent a different combination of possible values. Each scenario has to do what? Has to represent different combination of possible values for the key drivers. And such scenarios could be base, the best course, the best case, the worst case, best case, worst case, the most probable case, or the worst case, the best case, the best case. We have best case, worst case, and the best. These are examples. Best case. Scenarios are cases. Best case, worst case, best case. Now, best case is the most likely case. The most likely case. The best case is the most likely case. The best case is the most likely case. You understand? So step number one is to identify the key drivers, then you develop scenarios. These are multiple plausible scenarios like the best case, the worst case, the best case, the most likely case. Then next is to assess impacts. Number three, assess impacts. The third stage is to assessing impacts. The potential impact of each scenario. This is the assessing the potential impact of each scenario on the decision plan. All right? Assessing impacts is done by taking each scenario and carrying out an evaluation to see the impact on the plan or on a decision. So And that is done by considering both qualitative and quantitative factors, assessing impacts. The potential impact of each scenario on the decision plan is evaluated, considering both quantitative and qualitative factors. Then step number 4 is to develop contingency plans. Developing of contingency plans. These are alternative plans, contingency plans. All right? And developing contingency plans is based on the scenario analysis. So based on the scenario analysis, contingency plans are then developed to address the potential risks and opportunities identified. Don't forget, candidates, we are studying capital budgeting techniques under uncertainty. Capital budgeting under what? Uncertainty. Under risky environments. Number 4 or 5 is decision making. That's the 5th element in scenario analysis. Now, the insights from scenario analysis inform decision making by providing a more comprehensive understanding of the potential outcomes and also the associated risks. Do you understand, candidates? Do you understand scenario analysis? If you don't, we are going to reinforce this with an illustration. Scenario analysis illustration. So a company is considering launching a new product. They use scenario analysis to evaluate the potential financial outcomes under different market conditions. So candidates, we said the first step is to identify key drivers. So in launching a new product, the company may need to identify key drivers. And I say that identification of key drivers is a process, is where this process begins. And key drivers are the critical variables or factors that are most likely to influence the future outcome. So if a company is to launch a new product, the company definitely would want the future outcome to be positive. So what are some of the factors that may influence, that may lead to the success or failure of the launch of a new product? And the key driver there is the market demand. Market demand. So demand can be high, can be medium or low. The demand for the new product. Another key driver or variable that may affect the success of the launch of a new product is competitor response. If you are launching a new product, what will be the response of the competitors? Because how the competitors respond can influence the success of the decision. So competitors may be aggressive, they may respond aggressively, moderately, or passively. Another key driver is economic conditions. Economic conditions. When launching a new product, what will be the economic condition when the product is being launched? So conditions could be strong growth, A new product may be launched when the economy is strong, stable, or in recession. So those are key drivers that may affect or impact or influence the future outcome of this decision. And candidates, we are studying, just to remind you, I'll keep reminding you, we are studying capital budgeting decisions under uncertainties, under risky environments. When you are to allocate resources to such a product, like launching a new product, these are massive resources that may be required, and such a decision is made under uncertain conditions. You never know what will be you may not know what will be the demand. You may not tell if the product will be accepted or not. There is uncertainty involved with that. You may not know what will the economic conditions tomorrow. So these are scenarios. These are key drivers. Then the second step, candidates, we said, is to develop scenarios. These are multiple plausible scenarios are developed, each representing a different combination of plausible values for the key drivers. Plausible values for the key drivers. And we say that the multiple plausible scenarios could be best case scenario. Best case scenario, candidates, could be high market demand. That is the best case scenario. High market demand, passive competitor response, strong economic growth. That is the best case scenario. When you launch a new product and you get high demand, the product is highly demanded by the customers, and where the competitors do not respond aggressively, where there is the competitor response is passive, and in an environment where the economy is growing, then that is the best case scenario. Another scenario could be best case scenario. Best case scenario is the most likely scenario. Most likely, when you start off a project, it's most likely that you'll have moderate competitor demand, or stable economic conditions, or medium market demand. Medium, not high, not low, but medium. That's the second scenario. The second scenario is the worst case scenario. You launch a new product, there is low demand, there is aggressive competitor response, and the launch is done when the economy is under recession. That is the worst case scenario. You understand, candidates? Are we on the same page up to that point? Can I hear from you? So the first step is to identify the key drivers, then develop the scenarios, then there is what we call impact assessment. Assess impacts. You recall what I talked about assessing impacts. I say that the potential impact of each scenario on the decision has to be evaluated considering both quantitative and qualitative factors. That is impact assessment. For each scenario, the company estimates sales volume. What will be the sales volume? Estimation. The company estimates what will be the costs and profitability. So those are quantitative aspects. Then the company may also consider qualitative factors such as brand reputation, market share, and so on. Then the last step is to do what? The last, after impact assessment, we say that the company has to develop contingency plans. Based on the analysis, the company develops plans to address potential risks such as increasing market efforts in case of low demand. So based on the analysis, the company develops plans to address potential risks. One risk is increasing marketing efforts in case of low demand. If there is low demand, then there is need to increase marketing efforts, or even adjusting pricing strategy in case of aggressive competitor response. Contingency plans. The last aspect of scenario analysis is decision making. The insights from the scenario analysis, because step 1 up to step 4, those are scenario analysis. All right, scenario analysis. After carrying out the scenario analysis, then the company can make informed decisions about whether to proceed with the product launch, and then the company will then decide on how to allocate resources effectively. So that's what we can say, candidates, about the scenario analysis. That's the starting point of understanding of scenario analysis. So let's have another example. I'm sure this one you've understood. The example we've just given illustrates how scenario analysis can be used to evaluate complex decisions with multiple uncertain factors. So let me check for another example. We have another illustration. Scenario analysis. No, that's all, candidates, on scenario analysis. Let's move on to something else.